Whatever the mind of man can conceive and believe, it can achieve. We live in a world where the line between poverty and prosperity often seems drawn in stone. Some are born into wealth, others spend a lifetime chasing it. But what if that line isn't fixed? What if it's not your background, education, or luck that determines your financial destiny, but the thoughts you consistently hold in your mind? This video is not about quick hacks, stock market tips, or cryptocurrency speculation. It's not about overnight success or chasing illusions. It's about the raw, powerful truth that your financial reality begins with your mindset. It's about shifting the way you think, believe, and act. Because every external result begins as an internal decision. Most people have been conditioned from a young age with limiting beliefs about money. Money doesn't grow on trees. Rich people are greedy. Success requires sacrifice. These ideas don't just float around. They root themselves deeply, quietly shaping our choices, our self-worth, and our ceiling for achievement. They become invisible walls that we don't even realize we're living inside of. But the good news? Those walls can be broken. And that's what we're going to do, step by step. Nearly a century ago, a man dedicated 25 years of his life to studying the richest, most successful individuals of his era. He didn't just look at their actions, he dissected their thoughts, their habits, their beliefs. What emerged was a revolutionary truth. Wealth is not the result of chance, but of thought patterns. Mindset is the blueprint. Behavior is the construction, and wealth is the result. This is not motivational fluff. It's mental architecture. You'll begin to see that millionaires, self-made or not, operate from a fundamentally different mental software. They see problems as opportunities. They talk to themselves with purpose. They carry a sense of belief that is unshakable and act in ways that reflect that belief daily, even before results show up. Throughout this video, we will walk through the core elements that make up the wealth mindset. We'll uncover how thoughts lead to feelings, which lead to actions, which lead to results. We'll dismantle toxic money beliefs and replace them with empowering principles. We'll explore desire, discipline, decision-making, knowledge, and above all, purpose. Because wealth is never just about money, it's about who you become in the process. Let's be clear, thinking like a millionaire doesn't mean pretending. You have money you don't. It means upgrading your mental operating system to match that of someone who creates wealth, not through luck, but through clarity, conviction, and consistent effort. The journey we're about to take won't just challenge your ideas about money. It will challenge your ideas about yourself. It will require you to let go of what you thought was true, to question your beliefs, and to imagine a version of yourself that acts with intention and confidence. Because once you understand how the wealthiest minds think, you'll never see the world the same way again. You'll stop waiting for opportunities and start creating them. It all begins in the mind. Wealth begins in the mind. There is no such thing as accidental wealth. Behind every fortune, whether in business, art, or innovation, there lies a pattern of thought, a consistent mental framework that operates like the engine behind the scenes. The truth is stark but simple. Your mind is the first and most important asset you'll ever own. And the way you use it determines the quality of everything else in your life. Before you ever see a dollar in your account, a decision is made, a belief is held, a thought is repeated. That internal process is what separates those who build wealth from those who chase it. Let's be clear, wealth is not just about money. It's about abundance, mental, emotional, spiritual, and yes, financial. When you start thinking like someone who creates value, takes ownership, and expands possibility, you start attracting results that reflect those inner conditions. But most people never reach that point. Why? Because they've inherited a mental script they didn't write. They've been programmed by parents, teachers, media, society to believe that money is scarce, that wanting more is greedy, or that security is more important than freedom. These aren't just opinions. They become hardwired mental codes, dictating every decision, every risk avoided, every opportunity dismissed. It starts young. You hear phrases like, "We can't afford that," "Rich people are corrupt," "You have to be lucky to make it." And they stick. Not just as ideas, but as unconscious commands that shape your worldview. Suddenly, saving becomes stressful. Investing feels reckless. And dreaming? That becomes dangerous. But here's the shift. None of these beliefs are facts. They're just thoughts you've thought repeatedly. And anything learned can be unlearned. Your mind is a garden, and like any garden, it produces what you plant. If you plant fear, doubt, and lack, that's exactly what you'll harvest. But if you plant purpose, clarity, and confidence, the results change drastically. The first step to cultivating a wealth mindset is becoming consciously aware of your current beliefs. Ask yourself, what do I truly believe about money? Where did that belief come from? Is it helping me or holding me back? Awareness creates space, and in that space, change becomes possible. Now, once you're aware of the negative scripts, you don't just erase them.
You replace them with intentional, empowering beliefs. This is where techniques like affirmations, visualization, and mental rehearsal come in. This isn't magical thinking, it's mental conditioning. When you repeat to yourself, "I create
value and receive abundance," over and over again, your brain starts to accept it. You begin looking for ways to make it true. You act differently. You walk differently. You carry yourself as someone worthy of wealth, and that shift changes your choices, which eventually change your reality. Let's take a simple example. Two people walk into the same room with the same opportunity. One has a mindset of scarcity. "I'm not ready, I'm not enough, I can't risk it." The other walks in with confidence. "I bring value, I'm always learning, I can figure it out." Who do you think seizes the opportunity? Who creates results? Success favors the prepared, but also the mentally primed. Another powerful shift? Start replacing the question, "Can I afford this?" with, "How can I afford this?" The first question closes the door. The second one opens your creativity, your resourcefulness, your drive. And that's what thinking like a millionaire really is. It's not about having the answers. It's about training your mind to keep asking better questions. Now, let's acknowledge something. Rewiring your mindset isn't easy. It's not instant. And it won't feel natural at first. You'll doubt yourself. You'll fall back into old habits. That's part of the process. The key is repetition with intention. Athletes train their bodies. Artists train their craft. Entrepreneurs train their minds. You must train yours, not just once, but daily. Through the words you use, the people you surround yourself with, the content you consume, and most importantly, the beliefs you choose to accept. The wealthiest minds in history didn't start with millions in the bank. They started with a vision, seen only in their minds. They believed when no one else did. They persisted when nothing was certain. And they acted as if their success was inevitable. That's the energy you must cultivate. This is the beginning of your transformation, not just into someone who has wealth, but someone who thinks in alignment with it. When you take control of your thoughts, you take control of your future. Because wealth, real wealth, always begins in the mind. The power of burning desire. There is a force more powerful than intelligence, more essential than talent, and more enduring than luck. That force is burning desire, a relentless, almost obsessive longing for something greater. Not a casual wish, not a hopeful maybe, but a decision so firm that it burns into your reality. Most people want success. They say they want freedom, wealth, fulfillment, but few are truly willing to pursue it with the level of clarity and intensity that it demands. And this is the great separator. Desire is the spark. It is the origin of action. But there's a catch. It must be definite, not vague. Saying "I want more money" is not a burning desire, it's a weak hope. But saying "I will earn $10,000 a month doing what I love" within 1 year. Now that's different. That's precise. That has structure, emotion, urgency. That becomes real. Your mind does not respond powerfully to general wishes. It responds to emotionally charged clarity. The kind of clarity that makes you sit up at night, that makes your heart beat faster, that makes you move. Desire isn't about how badly you want something when it's easy. It's about how committed you remain when it's hard. When the world says no, when results are slow, when fear creeps in. Burning desire is the internal contract you sign with yourself that says, I will not stop until. Let's look at this from a neurological standpoint. Your brain has a built-in filtration system called the reticular activating system, RAS. It filters the billions of stimuli you experience every day and focuses your attention only on what it deems important. When you lock in on a goal with emotional intensity, your RAS gets the message, this matters. Suddenly, opportunities, people, and information that were always around you but invisible start to stand out. This isn't coincidence, it's clarity in action. This is why so many successful people talk about the power of visualization. Because seeing something clearly in your mind, paired with emotion, triggers your internal systems to begin aligning with that image. It activates creative tension, the discomfort between where you are and where you want to be. And that tension fuels action. But there's another element, faith. Not necessarily religious faith, but a deep inner conviction that your desire is possible, that it's already yours in some form. When belief and desire meet, a new kind of energy emerges. One that's almost magnetic. Consider this. Every invention, every company, every movement, every masterpiece began as a single thought held in someone's mind with deep emotional certainty. They saw it before anyone else could. They held onto that vision when others doubted. They pursued it not as a fantasy, but as an inevitability. This is the energy you must cultivate. If you're not sure whether your desire is strong enough, ask yourself, do I think about this goal every single day? Am I willing to sacrifice comfort for progress? Do I feel emotionally stirred when I imagine achieving it? If the answer is no, your desire is not yet burning. And that's okay. But it means you have work to do. Because only burning desire transforms potential into reality. Now, how do you ignite this desire? Start by getting specific. What exactly do you want? Put it in writing. Add numbers. Add dates. Make it measurable. Next, add emotion. Why do you want it? How will it feel? Who else will benefit from your success? The stronger the emotional link, the more fuel you provide your subconscious mind. Then, take action daily, no matter how small. Desire without action becomes fantasy, but desire fueled by effort becomes transformation. Every single action you take, every dollar saved, every book read, every connection made, reinforces your intention and moves you closer to your goal. 1. Critical warning. Desire will be tested. Doubt will come. People will question your path. Circumstances will challenge your resolve. This is not failure. It is the refining process. Burning desire is not destroyed by obstacles. It is strengthened through them. You don't need to be extraordinary to succeed, but you do need to be obsessed. Because in a world of half-hearted efforts and short attention spans, intensity is a competitive advantage. The individuals who rise to the top are not always the smartest or most talented. They are the ones who wanted it more. They stayed when others quit. They adapted when others blamed. They built desire into discipline and discipline into results. Let this be your reminder. You don't get what you wish for, you get what you burn for. Applied knowledge is power. Knowledge alone is not power. That's a myth. If knowledge were power, then the most educated would be the most successful. But we know that's not always the case. Knowledge becomes power only when it is organized, focused, and applied. In other words, it's not what you know, it's what you do with what you know. In today's world, Information is everywhere. You can search for anything in seconds. There are thousands of free videos, articles, courses. But still, most people feel stuck. Not because they lack knowledge, but because they don't apply it. They consume without creating. They learn without executing. This is one of the biggest mindset shifts of wealthy individuals. They don't just collect information, they use it immediately, relentlessly, strategically. Let's break this down. There are two types of knowledge: general and specialized. General knowledge is what we get through traditional education. It's broad, theoretical, and often disconnected from real-life results. Specialized knowledge, on the other hand, is precise. It's acquired with a purpose. It solves specific problems, and it's often the foundation of personal wealth. If you want to elevate your financial life, you must decide, what specialized knowledge am I willing to master? This could be learning how to market your services, studying investment strategies, understanding how to lead people or build systems, developing expertise in a niche with demand. But acquiring knowledge is just the beginning. The moment that information enters your mind, the clock starts ticking. Use it or lose it. Implementation must be your obsession. This is why action is king. It's not about feeling ready. It's about getting in motion. Wealthy thinkers don't wait for confidence. They build it through experience. They read a book on negotiation and immediately apply it in a conversation. They study a sales strategy and test it in real time. They don't fear mistakes. They see them as feedback loops for mastery. Execution beats perfection, always. Another trait of high-achieving minds is how they structure their environment. They don't learn alone. They build something known as a mastermind group, a circle of people with shared ambition who push each other, challenge assumptions, and expand perspectives. In these spaces, knowledge is multiplied. Ideas are sharpened. Accountability is real. Success becomes a shared mission, not a lonely struggle. Surrounding yourself with people who think bigger than you forces your mind to level up. Conversations change, expectations rise. Suddenly, goals that seemed distant become standards. Here's the key insight. You don't need to know everything. You just need to know enough to get started and be willing to learn the rest along the way. Many people wait until they feel ready. But readiness is a lie. If you're committed, the only preparation you need is the belief that you'll figure it out. The truth is, wealth is rarely about knowing more. It's about executing better. And yet knowledge without structure becomes chaos. That's why successful individuals don't just work hard. They work smart. They build systems. They follow routines. They organize their learnings into frameworks they can return to again and again. Ask yourself, am I applying what I already know? Do I review and refine my actions based on results? Am I surrounding myself with people who stretch my thinking? If the answer is no, then more books won't help. More videos won't change anything. You must act. You must apply. You must move. 1. Powerful method to ensure this? Teach what you learn. When you explain something to someone else, you're forced to clarify it. You internalize it. And you stay accountable to it. This is how knowledge becomes transformation. In his timeless work, the author we've referenced studied hundreds of the most successful people of his time. What set them apart was not superior intelligence. It was disciplined application. They turned ideas into action, and action into income. So here's the principle. Don't just gather knowledge. Weaponize it. Make your mind a lab for experimentation. Test ideas. Track results. Refine the process. That's how mastery is built. Because in the end, the people who rise financially are not those who know the most. They're those who execute consistently on what they know best. Knowledge, when applied with intensity, becomes unstoppable. Decision, action, and persistence. Every life-changing result begins with a decision, a single internal commitment that says, "This is what I want, and nothing will stop me." Without that level of clarity, dreams remain fantasies. Decision is the root of transformation. But here's what most people don't understand. Indecision is also a decision. It's a passive choice to stay where you are. It's comfort disguised as logic. And it kills progress faster than failure ever could. In any room, the wealthy are the ones who decide quickly and rarely change their minds. They move with intent. They commit to action even when the path isn't clear. Why? Because they understand something simple. Speed of decision creates momentum, and momentum separates the achievers from the dreamers. Let's talk about action. The average person waits. Waits for more information, waits for motivation, waits for permission. But the wealthy mindset acts immediately, boldly, repeatedly. This doesn't mean recklessness. It means that once a course is set, action begins. Every hour that passes between idea and execution weakens belief. Every step not taken is a seed never planted. Think about it. How many ideas have you had in your life? How many plans were made and forgotten? How many dreams died in notebooks, never seeing daylight? Wealthy individuals don't just think, they act. They know that perfection is the enemy of progress, that clarity comes through movement, that confidence is earned in motion, not in theory. But action alone isn't enough. Anyone can start, few continue. That's where persistence comes in. Persistence is the ability to continue despite fear, failure, and fatigue. It's the mental toughness to show up day after day when the results aren't visible and the applause is silent. It's the silent champion of every great success story. Ask anyone who has built anything worthwhile. Persistence was not optional. It was everything. There will be rejection, delay, criticism, setbacks, people who laugh, people who leave, circumstances that feel unfair. That's the terrain of every meaningful pursuit, and those who lack persistence will retreat at the first storm. But those with a wealth mindset, they see setbacks as feedback. They extract lessons, adjust, and move again. They don't expect the path to be smooth, they expect to overcome. Here's a powerful truth. Failure is only fatal if it stops you. Otherwise, it's fertilizer for growth. History is filled with examples. An author rejected by 27 publishers before hitting #1. An inventor failing over 1,000 times before success. An entrepreneur bankrupt twice before building a billion-dollar empire. These aren't exceptions, they're patterns. And they all share the same DNA, unshakable persistence. There's a story of a man who had a gold mine. He dug for months and found nothing. Eventually, he gave up, sold his equipment, and left. The person who bought the land brought in a mining expert and struck gold just 3 feet from where the first man stopped. Let that sink in. You may be 3 feet from gold, 3 months from a breakthrough, 3 clients from momentum. And the only question is, will you persist long enough to find out? Now, let's talk strategy. How do you cultivate decision, action, and persistence? Define your outcome clearly. Vagueness breeds inaction. Write down what you want in detail. Cut off escape routes. Burn the ships. When you leave no way back, you give yourself no option but to move forward. Schedule your actions. What gets scheduled gets done. Block time for progress, not just plans. Measure your consistency, not your speed. Success rewards the consistent, not just the intense. Build accountability. Tell someone. Join a group. Make your commitment public. Let social pressure work for you, and most importantly, decide in advance to endure. Don't wait for pain to decide if it's worth it. Decide now that nothing will make you quit. When the storm hits, you won't have time to think. You'll fall back on the strength of your decision. This is why so many never make it. Their desire was weak, their decision half-made, their actions inconsistent. Their persistence short-lived, but not you. You are learning that real wealth is built in the moments when no one is watching, in the decisions made before results appear, in the actions taken when no applause is heard, and in the persistence to keep building when the world says stop. Because when you become a person of unwavering decision, immediate action, and iron persistence, success becomes inevitable. Purpose and self-mastery. You've learned how to think, how to act, and how to persist. But there's one more layer, the foundation beneath all the others. Without it, even the most disciplined efforts will eventually collapse. That layer is purpose. Purpose is the why behind the what. It's the emotional engine that keeps you going when discipline fades, when logic fails, when results delay. Without a deep sense of purpose, goals become shallow and motivation becomes temporary. Here's the truth. Money, on its own, is not enough to keep you going. It's not enough to wake you up at 5 a.m. to keep you reading, building, refining when no one's watching. It's a weak motivator when things get hard, and they will. But when your actions are tied to something greater than yourself, when your pursuit of wealth is rooted in meaning, everything changes. Purpose gives suffering a reason. It turns pain into fuel. It transforms mundane tasks into meaningful progress. And perhaps most importantly, it gives you the ability to say no to distraction, to temptation, to mediocrity. Ask yourself, why do I want wealth? What will I use it for? Who else will benefit from my success? What legacy do I want to leave? These aren't philosophical questions. They are strategic. Because when you know your why, the how becomes clear and the when becomes now. Purpose is the compass, but self-mastery is the vehicle. It's the ability to direct your thoughts, emotions, habits, and actions with intentionality. It's the ultimate form of wealth, control over yourself. Look around. Most people are ruled by emotion. They react to circumstances. They are slaves to distraction, to instant gratification, to fear. But those who build lasting wealth have learned to master themselves first. Their mind is disciplined. Their environment is curated. Their choices reflect long-term vision, not short-term relief. This is the real work. Self-mastery begins with awareness, noticing when fear is talking, catching yourself in self-sabotage, recognizing when you're negotiating with your own standards. It's not about being perfect, it's about being present. Then comes discipline. Not punishment, not rigidity, but the ability to choose your future self over your current impulse. Discipline is freedom in disguise. The more you master your habits, your routines, your responses, the more power you have to shape your reality. And, finally, alignment. When your values, thoughts, and actions are in harmony, you become unstoppable. You stop needing external validation. You stop chasing everything. You start attracting what is already aligned with who you're becoming. Let's talk about energy. People with a strong purpose and clear self-mastery radiate something rare: certainty. Not arrogance, not fake confidence, but a grounded sense of direction. They know where they're going. They don't flinch at rejection. They don't crumble under pressure. They lead themselves first, and that is the essence of true leadership. So, how do you build this level of inner wealth? Clarify your values. What do you stand for? What won't you compromise on? Craft your vision. Write it out, in detail. Revisit it every day. Design your identity. Who do you need to become to live that vision? Act like that person, now. Protect your mind. Guard your attention. Limit noise. Consume what strengthens you. Train your body. Your physical state influences your mental state. Treat your health as a business asset. Give more than you take. Service is the highest form of purpose. Help others rise, and you rise with them. Here's what the wealthiest individuals know. money expands who you are. If you're selfish, it magnifies that. If you're generous, it amplifies it. Money is not the goal. It's the tool. The real goal is becoming someone who deserves it. That's why chasing wealth without mastering yourself is dangerous. You may reach the top, but without a solid internal foundation, it won't last, and it won't fulfill. Self-mastery is what keeps you grounded when success arrives. Purpose is what keeps you humble when praise surrounds you. Together, they form a code that no market crash, no rejection, no failure can break. And here's the final truth. Every challenge you face is an invitation to step into a greater version of yourself. Every discomfort is a mirror. Every setback is training. If you approach your life as a journey of self-mastery guided by purpose, you won't just think like a millionaire. You'll live like one, with or without the money. Because the wealthiest people on earth are not defined by their bank accounts, but by their clarity, their character, and their contribution. You've learned how to think, how to act, and how to persist. But there's one more layer, the foundation beneath all the others. Without it, even the most disciplined efforts will eventually collapse. That layer is purpose. Purpose is the why behind the what. It's the emotional engine that keeps you going when discipline fades, when logic fails, when results delay. Without a deep sense of purpose, goals become shallow, and motivation becomes temporary. Here's the truth. Money, on its own, is not enough to keep you going. It's not enough to wake you up at 5 a.m., to keep you reading, building, refining, when no one's watching. It's a weak motivator when things get hard, and they will. But when your actions are tied to something greater than yourself, when your pursuit of wealth is rooted in meaning, everything changes. Purpose gives suffering a reason. It turns pain into fuel. It transforms mundane tasks into meaningful progress. And perhaps most importantly, it gives you the ability to say no to distraction, to temptation, to mediocrity. Ask yourself, why do I want wealth? What will I use it for? Who else will benefit from my success? What you've just heard is not just theory. It's not just philosophy. It's a framework, a way of seeing yourself and your life that can change everything. You don't have to be born into money. You don't need perfect timing. You don't need anyone's permission. You need clarity. You need desire. You need execution. And, above all, you need to believe that you can choose a different story. There will always be reasons to play small. There will always be fear, doubt, and distraction. But none of those things have the power to stop you, unless you give it to them. Wealth begins in your mind. It's shaped by your thoughts, fueled by your purpose, and built through consistent action. The world you live in is not fixed. It bends to those bold enough to shape it. And your life, right now, is clay in your hands. From this moment on, you are not a victim of circumstance. You are not a prisoner of your past. You are the architect of your future. And every decision you make is a brick in the foundation of your legacy. So dream bigger, decide faster, act bolder, persist longer, give more, and never ever forget, you are the source of your wealth. Money will follow the mindset, opportunity will follow the belief, and abundance will follow the person you choose to become. Now is the moment. Not tomorrow. Not next week. Not when it's perfect. Now, because you don't become wealthy by waiting. You become wealthy by deciding, right now, to think like someone who already is. Visuals fade to black. Final message on screen. Your mind is the first asset. Invest wisely.